I'm Sarah with That Hashtag Show. Sarah, I always love interviewing people with my name. Hi. I was just
Hey,
in your beautiful country of Australia, and I don't know how you traded it in for Los Angeles. I'm just going to say
I ask myself that sometimes.
that. Well, when it comes to the story, I am so sad to say I didn't know anything about Jessica Watson. I learned so much throughout this entire film, and now I kind of like have deep dived into like videos and things. So when this was going on, were you someone that was watching the blogs and the videos and the news and keeping up with it?
Yeah, you know what's interesting is that Jessica and I have quite a parallel storyline when it comes to the timeline of our individual journeys. And so it was October 2009 that Jessica left Sydney to circumnavigate the globe. That exact same month, so October 2009, I left Sydney to move to Los Angeles and pursue my dream in Hollywood. So although I didn't have the 60-foot waves to battle, there were a few sharks for me. So there's some similarities there as well.
It's like,
So yeah, I was very aware of of her timeline because, like I say, it was coincidentally parallel to my own.
that's very cool. You're like, who knew? And then you're doing this film. I love it. So how did you get involved with this project? Was this your idea or were you pulled in?
I was actually approached. My first Australian film, Around the Block, premiered at the Toronto Film Festival in 2014. And I was approached by Jessica's management, actually, to come on board and adapt her story into a screenplay, which for me wasn't a slam dunk. I mean, when you're approached to tell a story and make a movie about a 16-year-old girl alone on a boat for 210 days, is somewhat challenging. So I thought about it, but then once I spent time with Jessica and, was really able to reflect on her story, um, yeah, I realized that it was so much more than a girl alone on a boat, and that there was so much very spiritual, philosophical, and emotional about her story.
Yeah, one of my favorite scenes is when she has her full breakdown and she's very honest in the blog about how she's alone and she's depressed. Was there a scene from page to screen that was your favorite?
For me, my favorite scene is what we call the Starman sequence, and it's just after Jessica reaches her lowest point, her rock bottom. Um, I did a lot of research leading up to this movie, spoke to a lot of sailors, and interestingly, it's not necessarily the big waves and the storms that frighten a lot of sailors. It's that alone time. It's that psychological challenge of being alone when there's not a lot to do. And so, therefore, that comes about when there's no wind. And Jessica did endure several days with no wind. And, I've heard some sailors compare it to solitary confinement, what solitary confinement must be like. And so for me, it's also very timely given that we've all just come out of COVID. And when we're shooting, actually, we're in the middle of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, after Jessica has endured several days of no wind and, really feeling this loneliness and therefore, a sense of depression, she manages to connect with her mother and, find a sense of comfort through connecting with her mother and nature. They both are looking at the same star in the sky. And so after that sequence, there's a somewhat fantasy sequence where we kick into a arrangement of a David Bowie song, Starman, and she's out trimming her sails. It's still no wind, very still waters, but the stars are perfectly reflected in the ocean. So it gives us a sense of the boat traveling through space. And it's for me, that's my favorite sequence. It's the only somewhat fantasy sequence in the movie, but I was really happy with the way it turned out.
It's gorgeous. That's a fantastic scene. So I agree. It's really, really good. Well, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for your time, Sarah. And I hope everyone checks out the film coming to Netflix very, very soon.
Awesome. Thank you. Great to meet you.
You too. Bye.